What up though, meerkat? And I have a simple question. Are single player games dead? Despite what a certain publisher may want to tell you, single player games are as strong as they've ever been. Perhaps even stronger. To some extent, that may be a response to the multiplayerification of the video games industry. I would say there are a lot of culprits, but the one that stands out the most and the most egregiously is EA, Electronic Arts, who have been pushing multiplayer and live service for so long. I can't even remember when EA was excited to release a single player game, despite the fact that they have released quite a few over the last decade. But yeah, it seems that EA doesn't really have faith in single player titles anymore. Or, and this is what I believe, they do know that single player titles are still selling, and they just want to push a narrative in the hopes that they can gaslight the entire community into accepting their live service bullshit. Until some insider tells us what's what, then we just have to assume from what we can observe. And what I've observed recently is that EA really doesn't want us to love single player games, despite the fact that one of their most successful titles of the last decade is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But then again, it makes sense when you see how they killed another one of their games that had a single player component, Titanfall 2. Now, this hasn't been officially confirmed or denied either, but you can't just drop a game directly in between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and expect that game to actually do numbers. That's insanity. Those are two of the biggest franchises for shooters out there. And Titanfall had one previous entry that didn't do that well in terms of player retention. So who's gonna buy that? Who's gonna buy that game for $60 when they're not even sure if people are gonna be playing it 6 months, 3 months, 2 months down the line? They're gonna go with the sure bet. And I feel like EA knew this when they set the release dates. But that's in another video. You can see all about that. Well, not all about that, but you can get you can get more context about that particular game by clicking this video up here. We're here to talk about EA in general. EA is a company that really wants you to accept live service because they really want you to get addicted to their loot boxes, because they really want to farm money out of you. Or to put it more specifically, they want to farm money off of as many whales as possible, because the whales, not the regular buyer, but the whale is the one who keeps these types of games alive. Case in point, Diablo Immortal was a game that was released a few months ago to absolutely negative reviews due to its in-game being locked behind a shitload of grind or a shitload of money. One particular player, who's a content creator for the game, paid so much to level up his character so fast that he locked himself out of being able to play with other people. He's on an iceberg, floating alone in a sea of players. And that's the kind of person that EA Games wants to cater to. That's the kind of person that EA Games hopes is spending money on these loot boxes. The person who wants to get the best players. The person who wants to have Lionel Messi maxed out on their team so that they can basically destroy anybody who they face online. That's the person they're catering to. The average Joe, the person who just wants to spend $60 and have fun with the game, you don't matter anymore, at least in the eyes of EA. So, should we let them get away with it? Should we try to fight back? Should we vote with our wallets, as people love to say? I don't have the answers. I'm going to be real with you. I don't have the answers. As long as those whales still exist, then they'll still keep getting away with it. It doesn't matter how much you don't buy their loot boxes. It doesn't matter how much you don't buy their games. It doesn't matter how much noise you make on Twitter. As long as the whales exist, these practices will continue. And the odds of you getting through to those people are minimal, because they're addicts. They're either gambling addicts or they're addicted to being the best in a game. And they have the means by which to do it artificially. And you can't compete with that. And you can't knock them upside the head in the hopes that they'll change their mind, because it won't work. I know this from personal experience as a mental health professional. Yelling at people doesn't get them to change their ways. It doesn't get them to consider what they might be doing. Maybe the best recourse is to let EA have their whales and just engage with the stuff that actually does matter to us. Because at the end of the day, there are dozens and dozens upon hundreds of great video games that are released every 5 years or so. And they don't all have to be AAA. We just want the AAA game because we want the pretty graphics so we can flex our 3090s. Well, I have a 1650 Super, but you get my drift. You can have a 3090 and still play overclocked. You can have a 3090 and still play 200% mixed juice. You can have a 3090 and still play Final Fantasy VII. Just because you bought the equipment doesn't mean that you have to engage with AAA games. It just means that when the right one comes around, the one that you really want to play, you'll be able to. But until then, just enjoy games. Enjoy games that cater to you, the gamer. Because EA doesn't want you anymore. And this probably won't change for the foreseeable future. With that being said, I'm out. Sub to the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. All answers down below. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.